Hey guys, welcome to Create a Place podcast. I hope you enjoy this fun conversation I had with Oren Sherman, design consultant, artist, and mentor I met at NeoCon this year. Oren, how are you?
I'm good. This is a totally exciting couple of days. I love being in Chicago.
Yes, I love Chicago too. So I'm super excited to sit down and talk to you. I ran into your agent this morning at the hotel. We shared an Uber, and I believe things like that are very serendipitous. So as we're chatting and he's telling me about what you're doing, he's showing me these crazy videos. I was blown away by it all. And I was trying to wake up. I was trying to wake up too. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. And I want to know more about it. But also, I haven't had coffee yet. And so it was a thing. But as you know, I'm Kristina York. I host this podcast. And I also own Create & Co. out of Tampa. It's an architecture interior design firm. And I've been in design for 30 years.
So closer so I can hear you.
So we can't hear each other, right? And I lean mainly into the corporate spaces. I do a lot of the workplace strategy, and I love furniture because it's the thing that people touch and feel and interact with the most, right? And it's what shapes the spaces into a usable place. So I love that. The last few years, I've been leaning a lot more into the consulting and the advocacy side of it. So I would love to hear about you.
Well, going on what you said, I worked in a big architecture firm in Boston, Elkisman and Freddie Architects, for 10 years. And I did a lot of offices and I worked on a lot of office strategy and enough to see a couple of generations move on, see what they needed and what they wanted.
Yeah.
And what was really going on with Gen Z is that the pandemic generation, 3 years dropped out of people's lives. What they really missed was the collaboration of the office, but it didn't go back to the old office. They wanted something.
Yes. We can't go back to the way we were.
You can never go back. You can only move forward.
You can only go forward. Exactly. Well, that's great. So what are you working on now that's new and exciting?
Well, my life exploded with excitement and I'm not a young kid and it's really exciting to be feeling like the best is ahead of me.
That's awesome.
So I'm a professor at Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay.
So I'm always with the youngest, most talented people in the world.
Oh.
So it keeps me young, the vessel ages, but I don't. And working at Elkis, I worked a lot on what young people were looking for. And it's the age of the individual. It wasn't the idea of fitting into the corporate workplace. That's ended. And I never really fit into the corporate workplace. And so we did a lot of studies and understanding what people said and what they wanted and what people wanted to be recognized as individuals. It wasn't, this is what I'm going to wear at the office to fit in. It was, this is what I'm going to wear to the office. And what is the space that's going to reflect me, not who you want me to be. And this was a big change. So what's funny is I took my first corporate job at 57. I never worked in a corporation before.
Wow.
And I said to my husband, who's a psychologist, I said, what's it like going to the workplace? Do you bring a lunchbox? Is there a water cooler? Do you have work friends? And he said,
so you have work friends?
He said, you're never going to make it. And I did make it. And 10 years later, I got to work as an artist in architecture.
Nice.
So I was hired as a non-architect, as an artist for what an artist brings to architecture, which is hopefully color, excitement, and connection.
Yeah.
So they rarely said no to ideas that I had, and they trusted me. I'm a color expert. I was born with it. I can't take any credit for it.
I love it. I am not. So I appreciate that in you.
I was just diagnosed. I'm the 1% color vision. So my boss learned to really respect and trust my ability to see color and to understand how it works. And the fun thing about color is that one paint color doesn't cost more than another one.
No.
So that why wouldn't we use color? But people are scared of it. And I will tell you, I've never painted a room white once in my whole life.
We love to use color. We're always pushing our clients. This is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to enjoy this,
It's
right?
so much fun.
It doesn't have to be Skittles, but it should be something.
No,
A little more fun.
It doesn't have to be Skittles, but it has to be something. Yeah, I agree. And what I specialize in is color and graphics. So it surfaces a wall.
Okay.
And I understand in architecture, something holds up the wall, but I kind of think it's wall covering.
What's the point of a wall?
There's drywall and there's something behind it, but I don't really know what it is. So wall covering, graphics, and paint are the least expensive things in architecture that have the biggest impact on the user. So a window detail, may cost a fortune. People don't say, I love that window design. I do. But to walk through a space that is colorful and that has graphics and it's thought about and the lighting is right and you feel good,
Yeah.
it's the least expensive part of architecture. And that's kind of amazing.
Absolutely. So tell me about this technology that you're working on.
Well, it was a crazy thing. I'm a pattern designer.
Okay.
And I worked for all these companies and I made all this pattern for years and I'm obsessed with it. So I did in graphics what is called dematerializing a wall, to make a wall not look like this, but to look like it expands. And I use reflective wall covering and I use color, everything to do to a wall. Then at one point, I swear this is true, I wrote down on a piece of paper, I want to walk through walls. And I folded it up and I put it in my wallet where it stayed for 4 years.
Wow.
So in architecture, because they work with Rhino, which works in 3D space, and I learned enough of the Rhino program to think, what if we actually design flat pattern in 3D space? What could happen? And so I used an existing technology, which is Rhino, to do something that it doesn't really do, which is to make art. So maybe that's the innovation, because I was too dumb to pick up the Rhino program, but I was smart enough with a little bit of work to see what it could do.
Okay.
And then everything kind of sped up really quickly from there because I started doing the best work that I've ever done. Every decision in my career has been simply made, where can I do my best work? Period. I've never gone after the money. I've never taken a job for the money. I've made money, but it's always been, where can I do my best work? And every decision was that. So knowing that this technology and this thing was happening, I left work where I still consult for them and we have a great relationship, but I had to pursue this thing, which was designing a 3D space.
Love it.
So it's crazy.
So what does that look like?
Give you an example. I did a bunch of case studies, and one of them was for Burberry. Look at a Burberry scarf. You know what it is. You immediately can see
I have
it.
the watch with the
Right.
flat, yes.
The most expensive
I'm a plaid
shoes,
person.
Me too. The most expensive shoes I ever bought were Burberry.
Yeah.
And I still look at them as a sign of my moral degradation. But they were wonderful. So everyone knows that material. And I started looking up Burberry and I saw the loom and I saw the weaving of it. And I realized, because I understand textiles, so before it was a flat textile, it existed in a loom as a 3D space, as an active, moving thing.
Right.
And looms are fascinating. I do carpets, I watch things happening in looms. So what if we could look into the loom before the scarf was born and see what we got? So I built the plaid as a 3D model and I spun it around and I flew through it, which you do through Rhino and Grasshopper.
Okay.
We flew through a Burberry plaid and I got all these plaids that I'd never seen before.
Oh.
I thought, this is what Burberry was before it was born. This is like the baby kicking in the mother. And it was the most exciting thing I ever did.
Very
So
cool.
I thought, this is how you reinvent a company, by looking at them in a way that no one's seen and giving them something that's in their brand, but completely new.
That's
Makes sense?
fascinating.
So I started doing it other ways. Like I looked at the Nike logo, which was designed before the internet. You know, it's flat. And I thought sports is moving. It's a 3D experience.
Yeah.
What if we made the Nike logo into 3D space? So I took it and I knitted it out of Flyknit, which is their billion-dollar invention. And I had a 3D Nike logo. Suddenly I could fly through it. And it became like sports. So everything I look at is now, how can this flat object be turned into three-dimensional experience?
I'm sure your brain never stops thinking of that now. Do you look at everything in pattern and color all the time?
I would say that creative people, which you are one, it's like an engine running in your brain all the time.
Yeah.
And you have to step on the gas. And if you don't step on the gas, it just burns out.
It's just
So
sputtering.
burnout isn't from working too hard. It's working too hard on things you don't love. And if you
Agreed.
love what you do, it's never working. So
Right.
I just started flying.
That's awesome. So what's your goal right now? And what brought you to NeoCon?
I came from a world of hospitality. So I worked in architecture. I've designed a whole bunch of hotels. I'm working on a big educational project in Boston right now. So I'm an artist that found a home in architecture. I've always liked working in space, and I also like solving a problem. I don't want to go paint somewhere, even though I really admire people that do it. I like to solve a problem that engages people in some way. And I think it's the age of customization. It's not the one size fits all kind of a place. It's not miles of the same carpet and miles of the same thing. So I was always hard at work to do a custom, to make something that had never been done before. And that became kind of what it is. And that customization is, I think, where the industry is moving. And digital printing allowed for a one-off custom in a way that was never possible. So things could be woven, things could be printed, things could be done in a one-off way. And I found all my clients wanted something that no one else has. So in design, there's two things. There's search and select. We would pick stuff that exists, and there's create and transform. And I always wanted to be in the category 2, create and transform, which has ruined my life. But I can't go back. I was never as selective.
I can see that. Yes. Create and transform. So tell me about how this works, and can you describe it without showing it?
So in the simplest ways, it starts with a rhino model, which is just a model in space. It's a sculpture. And you fly through the sculpture and you see all these things that you hadn't seen before. So it's a sculpture to a video, and it ends up as a manufactured object. And that might be wall covered, it might be carpeting, it might be a bunch of things. It's endlessly movable. Right now, I'm concentrating on hospitality because we're at NeoCon, and I know this world.
Yeah.
And I also know I'm a specifier as well as a designer, and I know what's missing in the market. And what's missing is some excitement, some color, some individuality, some risk.
Yes.
And it is hard for a carpet company to take a risk on a million yards of something. But a one-off allows a lot of risk. So in a video, the funnest thing is a 30-second video. So I'm working with Aztec, who's a wall covering company. And they've implemented it for the first time. They're our first license. And a collection is 1,000 images that are full scale, 10 feet high by 300 dpi. And you could see it in 30 seconds.
That's impressive.
So imagine instead of leafing through a catalog, you saw 1,000 images in sequence. So imagine
So we're literally watching it morph on the screen
Right.
from one image to the next.
Right.
It's just
And
telling the story line.
And we developed something called click to select, where you freeze it and you press down on it and you say, this is the one I want, and it timestamps it and it sends you a sample.
Wow.
And then you send it back and say, I like this, but I want the brand colors. And all that gets done. But the exciting part is it's really fun to look at. And everything about Young is moving. Everything's moving image. Advertising is moving image, but they have the still things over. And it's moving image, so it's engaging. And it's a whole bunch of imagery. Who could think that I could do 1,000 images seen in 30 seconds? So I'm going to design.
That's hours of looking online and scrolling, and that's not what I want. I don't like that. And you're trying to search and you
can't find it. It's not exactly right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing 10 collections. And the 10 collections will be, let's see, 10,000 images, which is more probably than I've done in my whole life in the next couple of months. So think about that. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to be 10 stories told in 1,000 images each. I have the second line, and I'm thinking about what the first line is going to be. But think about pattern in nature. It's moving. It's not still image.
It's never
when you
static.
see leaves blowing, it's moving image. When you see rain falling in water, it's all moving image.
Yeah.
And my whole life, I was extrapolating this still image, and I thought, why was I doing that? So now I think a pattern is moving image. So everything to me is moving.
It's a whole different way to look at it.
Right. Sunlight is moving across.
Right.
Even though you can't see it because it's slow, what we're seeing is going to drastically change in 4 hours.
And it's going to change everything around it.
So I'd like to just say, because I think that your environment changes everything about you.
Yes.
And if you can give people a sense of surprise and a sense of wonder and a sense of connection, that's all an artist wants. I'm an engagement junkie. I don't need to be up in music. It's not who I am. I just want people to be able to walk through spaces. And when I first started designing carpet, my artist friend said, well, don't you feel like designing carpet is selling out for a person whose work is framed on the wall? And I thought, you walk over a million miles of soul-sucking carpet.
We have something else.
Why can't that experience be beautiful?
Yes.
And one of my first carpet designs was just a field with flowers.
It's true, though. I mean, and that's the whole point of the discussions that I'm having is we're creating a place where people can thrive. But what does that mean? And what does that mean? And unless we are engaging, it's safe, it's belonging. It's not just this physical space. That has so much to do with it, but that's not all that it is. You know, so then I'm this weird designer that now at this point in my life would rather talk about design than do design. But I love it because I've done a lot of different things in my career, design, a lot of strategy and research, and as an entrepreneur. I was in the service industry for years. I was in corporate. I was in all of it. And I've been in all the sides of the table, the politics of the brokers and the property managers and the asset managers and all the things. I just know just enough about everything to be dangerous, but it also makes me equipped to have these conversations with the experts. So I may not be the expert in the room every time, but man, I love promoting it. And I want to tell the stories about the office. And not just office, but mostly because that's where I live.
Sure.
And it's such a great conversation to have because there's so much that we don't talk about in the office and how people act in the office, the relationship with the space and the furniture and each other. And one of the things that's been a theme in some of the conversations I've had this week is I feel like the conversations we have here at NeoCon and on LinkedIn, right in our industry circles, it's a lot of voices and a lot of information. It's fatiguing almost. And so for years, I thought, I don't need to be another voice in all of that. Until I started talking to all of my friends outside of the industry who said, we don't know what you're talking about. Right. Nobody beyond us and maybe the executives that we kind of push that information onto so they can make decisions and change their world and change their culture. If they don't push that down, it doesn't go anywhere else. So we have millions of people who are in workspaces who have no vocabulary on how to give feedback on an office or a workspace or when and where and how they do their work. They have no vernacular. They have no vocabulary for that. And so I feel like I have this weird responsibility as an advocate and as a designer to kind of start trying to translate that to anyone else who wants to learn about it, but in a way that you can understand it, that feels real, that feels accessible, right? And it makes sense.
Accessible is the word. Think about a couch that you sit in and you're immediately feeling uncomfortable and formal, and you suddenly freeze up because you're thinking, am I going to do something wrong? And I'm not a formal person. And I was just talking with a friend of mine who's redesigning her office. Mm-hmm. And she was working on the reception desk because the partners wanted a reception desk. And I said, well, what is the message of a reception desk? What's the value? Someone sits at a desk and greets people at the door. And for a client walking in, what does that say? It says we have a person we're paying to sit there and greet you walking in. So what if you took it out? I know you have to have somebody there.
Sure.
And what happens when there's an empty reception desk? What message does that say? So all these things we accept, the reception desk.
Yeah.
You know, those
what
are
if
all
it's just somebody hanging out at the table up front?
Right.
I mean,
that's all of Jimmy thinking.
Yeah.
I think the open office has gone too far. People want a little bit of privacy, but people really want to communicate and collaborate and to feel safe. And psychologically, you can't do all of those things. A lot of it has to do with the management. But I think you can create a safe thing. People feel reflects them in some way, that they've been listened to. And who doesn't want to feel listened to? and removes the hierarchy.
Right.
So here's a good one for you. Because I'm male and I'm not young, I worked in an office with mostly women, smart women. And I grew up with a smart woman who used her opinions. So it was really familiar to me. I was never intimidated. But if I was in a conference room and I'd be sitting with 6 women, all of whom were my superior, okay? And someone would come in, a sales rep or someone, they'd immediately address me. The assumption was I was an authority. And I know enough to say, I think you need to be speaking to. And I would always defer. But I thought, wow, all those embedded things, and women did it as much as men. I can't say it was a male to male thing.
Yeah.
It's a socialized thing.
It
and
is.
I think we can remove hierarchy in very specific ways.
Very cumbersome social conventions that are outdated, and yes, we need a refresh on all of that.
I mean, white gloves were something that existed in my mother's time.
Yeah.
We live in a time that is just not that way.
And hats and very formalized things, right?
But etiquette is not what people think. People think that etiquette is a snottiness that makes people feel like they're not quite up to standard. And what that actually is terrible manners.
Yes.
Manners are making people feel comfortable and at ease. They're not making people feel the opposite.
Yes.
So if you told me when I was young, manners, grammar, and posture would be 3 things I thought about all the time, I would say you're insane. But good manners are a lovely thing.
Yes, absolutely. Just be kind. And I heard somebody say the other day, it's beyond treat others how you would want to be treated. It's treating others how they want to be treated. Or just having, honestly, a lot of it's just human decency that I think that we have all forgotten about.
Please tell me that's
very
not an
simple.
oxymoron.
No, it's not. I know people that are decent humans. So it's kind of, like you said, it's a belonging. People need that sense of belonging. And I think that goes back to what I was saying too, is unless, the people in the space have a voice in that, how are we going to know that they are getting what they need? And that they are having the input that they need, because I think that's an important part of it. Informing from the employee's perspective what that looks like. I'm not saying we're going to give you everything you want. We're not asking the right questions all the time. That's the problem.
I think it's true. I go to a lot of workplace strategy things, and they talk a lot about people in the workplace, and they have to be happy and everything. But I say, yes, but it's work.
Yes.
It's not home in the living room with your feet up. It's work.
We still have a
Work can go a long way.
responsibility. We should still feel accountability. We still need to have goals. Yeah, there are metrics that need to be taken care of. And I had an interview with Dr. Tracy Brower. I don't know if you know who she is, but she wrote Happiness at Work. And the interview that we had was just great, because the thing is, some leadership tries to cater too much to people. Like we're saying, well, we'll just give you whatever you want, or they don't even know what they need. But what it comes down to is work is something that we want to find purpose in. We need to feel fulfilled. We need to feel like we're doing a good job. Most people, anyway. I mean, let's face it, not everyone, but most people that are out here with us caring about what their space feels like. They care about their coworkers. They have goals. They want to feel like they're contributing.
I think most people are fundamentally decent, and they do
Yes.
care about others' feelings. And I am hardwired for bullies. So when I see bullying in the workplace, I can't stand it. So I will always go up to that person and say, that wasn't right. But this is going to sound crazy. And I truly think that you have responsibility to treat a homeless person in the exact same way as to treat the president of a company that you meet. And that is recognizing people in their space and seeing them and listening to them.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of people that work with the homeless, and they said the hardest thing about it is being invisible. And that hit me, because who hasn't felt invisible at some point in their lives? And with my women friends, more so than me. So I think that the best thing you can do to people is see them, listen, and really never walk by someone, never turn somebody into never thinking that somebody's lesser than. And you've gone 90% of good manners. But humor, human nature, workplace, we spend most of our lives there. Let's do everything we can to make them easier.
Exactly. I think we can all get there together somehow. Like we just, first of all, let's have the conversation and then let's listen to each other and let's be willing to make changes.
So here's one thing I learned really interesting yesterday. I met with an acoustic person and I love a company that I love, Turf. And
Yes.
I know how important acoustics is. So I walk into their space, it's immediately quiet. And then I feel better. And then I see that they've used color and all these things to engage an acoustic, which people don't really think about.
Yeah.
And I think, now this is really something to take something that has a function and make it.
Yeah.
And I think for designer, it's that. Hit the function and we'll make it beautiful.
Yes. And we have so many resources out there to make it beautiful that you spend a little extra time making sure the function's right. And then you have all the creativity in the world to make it beautiful, right?
So I help my friends with all the colors of their houses and stuff.
Yes.
And I could just do it in 5 seconds. It's really fun to me. And they're like, you mean we can do this? And I went to somebody's house. They had like 50 beige paints on the wall and they couldn't choose. And I go, there's not a good beige. There isn't. It doesn't exist. We're not doing it. They're like, really? I said, yes, out it goes.
I love it. I have a house, I have a rental right now, and it's white. The other home I've ever had, I have painted dark color. I'm not afraid of that. And it's your calling, for Pete's sake. If it's a one place that you can use color and, resale, be damned. But just do what you want to do in your home and make yourself feel
People
good.
are so scared. I was working with a friend of mine, afraid of like decorators and people that know things are going to judge her.
Yeah.
And I asked her what her favorite colors were. And they were all colors that reminded her at different points in her life, and she was happy. This is the seafoam green in my first job.
Yeah.
And this is the pink of this. And
Aww.
I said, use all of those colors.
Yes, tell your
don't
story.
Worry about it. And you'll be happy. And who cares what people think? And she said, can I do that? I said,
yes. I'm giving you permission.
yes, that's the word, permission.
Oh, that's awesome. We're going to wrap up, but is there anything else that you want to share? And I have been asking a couple things. Generally, what keeps you up at night right now? And what lights
Aside
you
from
up?
politics, I worry about politics. I worry about people being hurt that I can't impact. And I worry that I made this decision on a job that's an enormously expensive something, and I screwed up. And I sit there at 2 a.m. thinking, this is not helping.
Yeah.
But I worry about screwing up. I worry about all the responsibility I have to make a decision. And it keeps me up at night.
So then what lights you up? What's the counter to that?
I'm going to tell you my secret.
What's your secret?
When I'm at work and I'm looking for something, I need an idea in a hospitality space, I don't look online. I take a walk to museum. I open up my mind to think about other things, and I try to get my colleagues. I was born before the internet, so I grew up having to look at things or go to museums. So I just get out of the office, I go for a walk, I open up my brain, I look at the sunlight, and I come back with an idea. That's the secret. Change the venue. Get out, open the brain up, get some fresh air, go for a run, come back, you'll have the idea.
There is a study to back you up. They looked at where do you get your creativity from, or when you've got a block or something, that taking a 20-minute walk made people infinitely more creative and able to get right back to it, like you're saying, than people that sat online for 2 hours scrolling on Pinterest. They went the opposite way.
Right.
There's overwhelm, too much information, but it's all the same thing. You're looking at it's already been done. Rather than opening yourself out to things that your brain just needs some stimulation to get.
I was so stuck on a job and I couldn't figure out what to do in this big, expensive space. So I went to the Museum of Modern Art and I walked around for an hour. And I walked out and I said, I've got it. And my husband Rick said, did you see the solution? No. But I saw other artists solving problems and seeing how they solved problems in their work, and it helped me to do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't get their answer. I got the process. And I came up with it.
Yes.
So change the venue, open up your mind, change the process, and you will be surprised how much you'll get done in 20 minutes when people say, you can't leave work.
Watch me.
I go, I'm working. I'm just going for a walk.
Yes.
And creative people are always thinking.
Yes. Well, thank you so
This was
much
so fun.
for chatting with me. I definitely want to keep in touch, and we'll make sure we connect all of the things.
So anything you need, I'll send you.
Okay.
I really appreciate you giving a piece of a complicated day with so many people around that are probably so much more important than me.
No.
Soon, talk to me.
This is good. Thank you so much. I just like to tell the stories. I just feel like for myself personally, I've gotten through is connecting and hearing stories. And a lot of what I've gone through in the last few years happened during COVID. And that was when I started connecting with podcasts and sharing those stories. And even people that don't think that their stories are important, they're important to someone, even if it's one person that says, oh man, I identify with what he or she went through. And I at least know I'm not alone. I'm the only one that's ever been through this. Sorry, you're not special. Everybody's gone through something. But it gives you that courage to get through it. And maybe, like you're saying, it was a great example. You might not have taken that solution from what you saw, but you see the process that person went through. And if you can apply that to your own hardship or your own challenges, then you're winning. And that person that told their story, that was worth it, even just for that one person.
Everybody's story is interesting. And
Yes.
at RISD, I say to my students, I'm just teaching this, I'm giving you the tools. So when the time comes to tell your own story, you'll have the tools to do it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yes. That's
And
amazing.
they're like, that's it? Go.
I love it. Thank you so much. This was
Thank
so
you.
fun.
So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Hey friends, if you enjoyed today's episode, please join in the conversation at Create a Place Podcast on LinkedIn or Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe. We're so glad you tuned in to Create a Place and look forward to seeing you next time.